Hello and welcome to my Titan Exotic Armor Piece tier list for Season 11. First things first, I have been doing an absurd amount of Nightfalls. The reason so is to obtain exotic armor pieces with a high stat total and a good stat distribution. In my opinion, out of the three characters in Destiny, the Hunter, Titan, and Warlock, Titan is the hardest character to have competitive stat splits on because Resilience is the stat tied to the class ability cooldown, or for the Titan, the Barricade. So getting a competitive Titan build is very difficult. The fact that exotic armor pieces are exempt from sunsetting is fantastic. For those who don't know, what sunsetting means is that each armor piece has a maximum power that they can go up to, and each season that cap raises. So you want to have exotic armor that is available forever so that you don't have to have as good legendary pieces to make a competitive stat split. To put it simply, you can either have a really good exotic piece with mediocre armor or a mediocre exotic piece with phenomenal legendary armor. And that's a lot harder to do. It's a lot harder to target farm for decent legendary armor. Even with the Umbral Oven, still pretty difficult. So this being said, I've just been farming so many Nightfalls that I keep getting the question of, what are you farming for? Today I hope to answer that question. So I kind of break down all these Titan exotics into what task are they trying to accomplish. So we have melee enhancers, swappables, battery or ability engines, and neutral boosters. The neutral boosters is what most people think of when they think of a powerful exotic. But I'm going to start with melee enhancers because it seems like Titans are designed in a way that they always push you towards melee. And I don't like melee in Destiny too much because A, it's very inconsistent. Sometimes you short stop, sometimes an enemy desyncs and teleports all over your screen. And at the end of the day, at top level play, most people can sniper melee you or shotgun melee you. So melee builds aren't too good. But anyway, let's talk about melee enhancers. We're going to start all the way at the bottom with Severance Enclosure. Cool Guy just posted a video on Severance Enclosure, and it's pretty cool with the mini throwing hammer. I still put it in D tier because as far as what it's trying to accomplish, there are other things that do it better. What this does in game, here I can probably show you here, is your charged melee ability creates an explosion. So ideally you do this with the mini throwing hammer on your Sunbreaker, and the mini hammer explodes. It's great because it also helps charge up, and then with the artifact mod of Solar Plexus, it makes it very easy to go for one-hit hammer kills. The next one to talk about is Peregrine Greaves, and I put it right next to him. Oh, hold on, those are Doom Archers. Where are they? There we go, Peregrine Greaves. What these allow you to do is they make your shoulder charge, all three of them, the Solar, Arc, and Void one, hit a lot harder if you are in the air. They can kill a super. But like I was saying, melees are a little bit inconsistent, and supers are so mobile and powerful that you're very unlikely to pull this off. I much rather would just play bottom tree Sentinel with Shield Bash because it suppresses them out anyway, and you don't need an exotic to do so. The next one to talk about is the Mark 44 Standicides, and I am putting them a tier above the other two. Why? Because if you sprint with the shoulder charge ability, you get an overshield, and that can help eat some chip damage to allow you to secure the kill in the first place. But if you do land the kill with the shoulder charge, you get half your ability energy back, so your melee cooldown is effectively twice as fast. You don't even have to spec into a melee cooldown to get advantage out of this exotic. You could even consider this a neutral booster in a sense if you don't like using shoulder charge, because all this means is that you get a passive overshield for running around the map. The next one to talk about is the Worm God Caress, and I think I'll put them either before or after Mark 44 Standicides? I don't really know. But in the same light that people are trying to use a mini hammer to explode people, Wormgod Caress allows the mini hammer to one-shot people pretty consistently once you start getting some chains up. So the way that subclass works is you throw the hammer, it procs Roaring Flames, which increases your solar ability damage. Wormgod Caress is great for turning it into early one-shot kills. So there's that. The next one to talk about is the Insurmountable Skullfort. I put this one on B tier. It does something similar to the 44 Standicides. 44 Standicides will refill half your melee ability for getting a shoulder charge kill. This one only works on arc subclasses, but gives you the entire melee charge. So not just the shoulder charge, it would also work on something like Bottom Tree Striker, where you have Frontal Assault, which increases your weapon damage. This will just instantly refill that, which is fantastic. Also note, if you're a Gambit player, this is surprisingly good in Gambit with Middle Tree, where you just ballistic slam everyone. But this is a PvP-centric list. I think the title should reflect that if I didn't already mention it. Next up is Syntheseps, and I'm putting those in A tier. These increase your melee lunge for no cost whatsoever, and if you're surrounded by enemies, some melee abilities can one-shot like Ballistic Slam. This is one of the strongest melee-centric exotics in the game, hands down, but there is one more. Finally, the Dune Marchers, and I'm going to put those above Synthesep because these do more for your neutral game. What Dune Marchers do is if you sprint, it builds up a static charge, and this will chain people, it chains lightning across the map. I really feel like it's 30 meters. Don't quote me on that, but it's so far that you will almost always proc this. In trials, especially if someone's getting a revive, just punch. You will win that round. This will let you get across the map faster, and the extra sprint speed from Dune Marchers ends up allowing you to sort of Titan skate, which increases your movement around the map, which means you can get to power positions a little bit faster. And it works in Super. So I think that handles the melee enhancers, if you ask me. I think that's all of them. Let's go to Swappables, and this is where we're going to start seeing some of our first S tier ones. Let's explain what a Swappable is. So these are exotics that you don't necessarily use unless you're prepared to abuse them in a super or something like that. So Hollowfire Heart, let's find that. Where am I putting this? I'm putting this in D tier. Why? Well, let's read what it does. Improves recharge rate of your solar abilities, greatly improves recharge rate while your super is charged. That sounds great, but how good is it exactly? Well, let's read. Improves the recharge rate of your solar abilities. I wrote down some notes here. Let me find it. Let's see, it's exotic reviews. See, I'm going to eventually go through and review all these exotics again. So, base tier 10 grenade cooldown, 32 seconds. Hollowfire Heart with tier 10 but no super, 25 seconds. So just by equipping this exotic, it's 7 seconds off your solar ability cooldown. Or your grenade, I mean. If you use the double enhanced bomber on a bond, so in other words, lose this and swap to enhanced bomber, by using your barricade, it will give you some grenade energy. And what this effectively allows you to do is get a cooldown of 20 seconds. That's phenomenal. But if you do have a super, it's just passively a 14-second grenade cooldown. So this warrants, to me, becoming a swappable. So whenever you have your super, you swap to Hollowfire Heart and enjoy that 14-second cooldown. Now, if you use Sun Warrior, that's Bottom Tree Sunbreaker, and stand in a sunspot, your nade cooldown passively without a super is 11 seconds. But with a super is 8 seconds. And if all the stars align, you have a super and you double enhance bomber, you can get your grenade in 6.5 seconds and it works in super. But this is a big caveat as to why it ranks so low on the list. The Heart of Inmost Light clocks in at 16 seconds with Enhanced Bomber and Regular Bomber, with tier 10 Resilience and tier 8 Discipline, and the best part is it will turn your grenade into a one-shot ability. So let's look at this real quick. You have to have a super for 14-second cooldown, and it doesn't change the strength of the ability. Inmost Light changes the strength of the ability and is 16 seconds. Of course, you gotta do the Enhanced Bomber shenanigans, but still, 20 versus 16, 14 versus 16. I'd rather go for Inmost Light. I hope that paints this picture very clearly. So next up, we have Peregrine Greaves. That's also a swappable. I mentioned it in the melee category, but it's also a swappable. If you're playing a class with shoulder charge, you can even swap between Mark 44 Stand-Asides and Peregrine, or the Insurmountable Skull Fort and Peregrine. If a super is about to be popped by the enemy team, you might as well have this just in case. It's still very unlikely that it goes off at top level play, but if you ask me, and this is a secret here, if you're ever trying to fight a bubble, use the Peregrine Greaves. They're one of the best anti-bubble solutions in the game. All you have to do is have a teammate like slightly distract and go in for the kill. You have to catch them in between the shotgun melee, and I guarantee you can pull this off. The next swappable is Stronghold. This is a sword-based exotic, so anytime you pull sword ammo, just swap to this, and it enhances the sword incredibly. It turns blocking into something that can't really be disturbed. Let's go find them. Shots blocked immediately after guarding will heal you. So in other words, if you already use swords, this is fantastic. And it got even better because we got better swords. We now have the Falling Guillotine, the Boltcaster type one, and we've always had Black Talon. I still think Black Talon's the best out of any of them. And a lot of people don't even run an exotic anyway, so I would just go Black Talon. That is an exotic sword. We go find it. Here we go. Exotic sword that shoots out a projectile. So it's a melee weapon that doesn't have to be in melee range. Phenomenal. So if the stars align and you pick up Black Talon, just switch to Stronghold. That's why they rank in C tier. The next swappable to talk about is the Helm of Saint 14. So I'm going to put this in B tier. If you're playing a Bubble Titan and you wear Saint 14, you not only get weapons of light from your bubble normally, but what Saint 14 does is it also gives you an overshield on top of that. In 6v6 game modes, this can single-handedly win games. In 3v3, it's okay, but you might be better off running some other stuff. The next one to talk about is Ursa Furiosa, and this is going to go all the way up to S tier. So the problem with the bubble is unless you're throwing it on a capture point, you could still get sniped out, even with this overshield. With Ursa Furiosa, it makes the strongest super in the game even more annoying. This being the middle tree Code of the Commander. This can pretty much block anything in the game, and to stop it, you have to shoot at them to stagger them, which will then allow you to kill them. But honestly, the correct answer is run away. You will not beat this super. But to make matters worse, what Ursa Furiosa does is for taking damage or for just getting hit, not even taking damage, just for getting hit while blocking with your super, it gives you more super energy. And this can range from about a quarter to a third. And that may not sound like a lot, but in elimination and competitive game modes, it is so much super energy, it's not even funny. So if you're about to get a super on Code of the Commander, if you swap to this, it is absolutely S tier. No doubt in my mind. In the same light, I guess no pun intended, Eternal Warrior is also S tier. I would still rank Ursa better than Eternal Warrior, but it's the same effort level. You throw on Eternal Warrior, and you get an overshield for popping your Arc super. And considering some of the Arc subclasses are already more of the competitive subclasses, it's just extra safety. And unlike a couple of the other overshield exotics, you can eat a headshot with Eternal Warrior from a high impact snipe. So With this, you do not have to fear cheaters. With this, you do not have to fear cheaters. In fact, they're probably doing you a service, giving you another unstoppable super. And I think that covers swappables. The next thing to talk about is battery/ability engines. In other words, exotics designed around giving you your abilities back faster. For this, we're gonna, of course, talk about the Aeon saves. And these were changed, so I'm gonna make sure to read them as they are in game. Melee grants the following to nearby Aeon Cold allies: grenade energy to warlocks, melee energy to titans, dodge energy to hunters. To activate this, you have to melee on a titan, so it's already hard enough to do in PvP. And all you're doing is giving grenade or dodge. The warlock one is the absolute best. If you run a lot of stormcallers with this exotic, or voidwalkers even, hell, even solar ones, especially in PvE, warlocks make this work. It is an absolute competitive one on warlocks. For hunters, if you have a lesser skilled player on your team, you might ask them to just throw this on and dodge near you at any point, because it's just free grenade energy to warlocks. Getting melee energy on the titan isn't really too valuable. It's more valuable on a titan to get more melee damage than more melee uptime. Where was I? Hollow Fire Heart. That's the next ability engine. Like I said, this is kind of a swappable too, so just use it as a swappable. We've already been through this. This next one might surprise you. This is Khepri's Horn, and I am putting it ahead of the Mark 44 Standicides. The reason so is that solar kills recharge your barricade. Solar damage, so this can come from your weapon, which is what sets it apart, because some of the most competitive weapons at the moment are solar. There's Beloved, there's Omniscient Eye, there's Fellwinter's Lie, there's Not Forgotten, etc. These will all charge your barricade. There's Hush. And your barricade also releases a thermite grenade on the floor whenever you throw your barricade, which means that you can run a battery build or an ability engine where you're using your barricade to charge your grenade, and then your grenade to charge your barricade. If you play a solar subclass, that is. So what you would do is you'd run Enhanced Bomber, so that when you throw your barricade recharges your grenade, and then any solar weapon kill will recharge your barricade, to then repeat the process. This Khepri's Horn I got from the Nightfall is ridiculous. It is so strong. But it still is like a middle of the pack, and if you want to have an ability engine or a battery, there are better ways to do it. Although I will say, a lot of people kind of sleep on the barricade. The barricade is super useful for top level play because it's safety from, cracked Beloved users, and it creates a situation where you can kind of lure people into getting one shot by the barricade, because they have to push through it sometimes. Like if you barricade a body, if you barricade a flag, if you barricade heavy ammo, they will inevitably have to push through it. And if you know how to finesse that sweet spot on the barricade, you can win that more often than not. Now, I think the better helm is actually the Mask of the Quiet One, if we're talking the job of a battery. So what this does, this is also kind of a neutral improvement if you think about it. What this does is for getting damaged, you get your abilities back faster. So much less work than having to get solar kills. Also, if you get a kill while critically wounded, you start healing. So it's a budget version of One-Eyed Mask, but it's the ability energy that makes this a lot better. This is pretty much the break point where you're going to start seeing a lot of improvement on this helm over just rocking legendary armor. Some of these other exotics down here, you're better off just running legendary armor sometimes. Okay, continuing on. We have Phoenix Protocol, the boots. What these do is they extend the Sun Warrior perk on bottom tree Sunbreaker. So passing through a sunspot causes your grenade and melee abilities to recharge faster and your super to last longer. It also increases all the damage you do. So why did I rank these so high? Well, the reason is Other Titans who use this exotic can leech off of your sunspot. So if you use a incendiary nade and they're burning and someone else picks up the kill, it will create a sunspot that the whole team of Titans who are using Phoenix Protocol can use. So in a team setting, this is maybe one of the best ability engines in the entire game. But because it's so specific, it can only be B tier. Even though I think under perfect circumstances, it's very high A tier. Next up is Doomfang Pauldron. And I'm going to recommend running this in a way that's kind of counterintuitive. Now, you would think that because Doomfang Pauldron is described as if you get a melee kill, you get about a quarter of your super bar filled for free. And then, of course, when you have the Sentinel Shield active, melee kills recharge shield, and shield extends the super. That secondary part is cool, but what we really want is the void melee kills give super energy. So what I'm going to suggest is that you run this with, believe it or not, low strength. I know what you're thinking, right? But it's a melee exotic, right? I need strength to get the super. The way the game passively plays, you're not going to be having very many opportunities to get a melee kill in the first place. Unless, of course, you're just playing 6v6. What you could do is you can use Monte Carlo to refill this for free, or you could start dipping into your mark perks, kind of like Enhanced Bomber. You can go for Outreach. So you can go for Outreach and Pump Action so that you're at least getting something back. You get a quarter of your super for that melee kill, or you get some energy for Pump Action. And you could go double Pump Action, but it does have diminishing returns. So this is giving you more opportunities to get a lot of super energy. Also, in trials, if you are in a 3v1 scenario, just tell your teammates, let me try to fish for a melee kill. And if they let you and you succeed, you're a quarter of your super bar ahead of the enemies. So as a result, this ranks really high on the tier list because of how much it can sway a match. And the best part is you can swap to Ursa Furiosa too if you're using the middle tree. But I strongly recommend using the Doomfang Pauldron on the bottom tree since it gives you a shoulder charge ability. Okay, and I think we have one more. Oh yeah, I'm wearing it. The Heart of Inmost Light. So, as I alluded to earlier, this will give you about a 16-second recharge. And I found the sweet spot. The sweet spot is 10 Resilience, 8 Discipline, Enhanced Bomber, and Regular Bomber. If all goes well, you're able to throw your barricade, which increases the damage of your fusion grenade, allowing it to one-shot kill. By throwing your grenade, you also activate this Empowered, because Empowered means the abilities have faster regen. So what you do is you throw the barricade to empower the nade, throw the nade to get the one-shot kill. It's still in the empowering buff, so that means that you have faster regen. So since you're at 10 resilience, your cooldown is 14 seconds. So in 14 seconds, you get your barricade. You throw your barricade again. Then it activates the Enhanced Bomber and Regular Bomber, thus allowing you to get your grenade back in exactly 16 seconds to perfectly repeat the cycle. So in other words, you not only have frequent barricades, but you also have one-shot kill capable grenades every 16 seconds. If this wasn't in the A tier, I'm crazy. Absolutely crazy. And the best part is that works on any subclass. So on Striker, you can have one-shot lightning grenades. On Sunbreaker, you can have one-hit fusion grenades. On Sentinel, you can have magnetic grenades. And in fact, this is probably going to be what I run forever. It's just magnetic on Code of the Commander, switch to Suppressor when I need it, switch to Ursa Furiosa when I need it. It's way too powerful of a Titan combination, but it really does require min-maxing your armor because your stats have to be all over the place to get this 10 and 8. Ideally, I want 6, 10, 7, 8. That's very hard to do while also maintaining competitive intellect. If I have to drop down in discipline, I want to raise up in intellect. And if I could go for 10 recovery if the stars align, I would want that. But this is again why I have to create a tier list. This is the best Heart of Inmost Light I'm probably ever getting on this character. on this account. So what I'm going to need to do to get the build I want is farm for legendary armor, which is much easier said than done. So this is a build that once I have it set, I'm pretty much not switching off of it until sunsetting forces me to. It is that powerful, and this is my pick for my favorite build in the game. For non-power level enabled activities, I could run the, 10 resilience, 8 discipline, regular bomber, enhanced bomber, and get some pretty phenomenal stat splits as well. But I just can't use those in trials. But I kind of want my character to play flush across the entire game and not have to change it up drastically just because power level is enabled. That's my 2 cents in my approach, at least. So now let's talk about the category that most people care about, which is neutral boosters. So starting off at the bottom, which is C tier, believe it or not, we have Mask of the Quiet One. I did mention it was a neutral booster. It just gives you your health back if you're critically wounded and get a kill. But if you're critically wounded, chances are you will probably die. I did make a video with Tommy's matchbook, where Tommy's matchbook forces you to be in critical health, but you also heal through that, so you can take a hand cannon shot, but you also have a TTK that can wipe them out before they even get 2 shots off, so it's high risk, high reward, but this helmet does enable that. So moving on, we have Crest of Alpha Loopy. That is going in the B tier. And in fact, I'm going to move it in front of the Phoenix Protocol. Yeah, that looks right to me. What Crest of Alpha Loopy does, pretty simple. You throw your barricade down, and in a small radius around you, you will heal not only yourself, but your teammates. So in team play, this is incredible. It's Wormhusk, but with a barricade. Of course, Wormhusk also dodges you. That's a hunter exotic that if you dodge, you get your health back, but it's only for you. So the trade-off here is pretty close to equal, but I'd still give the edge to Wormhusk Crown. However, like I said, in a team setting, if you're deliberately playing around this, like your teammates are trying to take damage around you as you're throwing up a barricade, this can swing a match. The next one to talk about is Antaeus Wards. I'm going to put these all the way over here. Now, these may have been nerfed so that they don't give super energy and you can't repeatedly slide activate them. By the way, let's look at them. Improved slide. That's already good. An improved slide's already good. Sliding reflects incoming projectiles. And what you don't understand is that this makes you completely invincible to things. So it's phenomenal. These recently got nerfed so you couldn't reactivate them after every other slide. Instead, you have to sprint for a little bit, kind of like Dune Marchers, kind of like Mark 44 Stand-Asides, to activate the slide shield. And considering these give you full immunity, even though they don't give you super energy anymore, they're super good. These will allow you to break into a room without getting damaged, and maybe even kill someone else with a reflection. It's less likely, but it's the fact that you're invincible entering a room that make these so good. These are still very, 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 very strong, and I think underrated at the moment. They're just not free. They don't instantly win the match for you like they used to. The next one to talk about is Peacekeepers. So Peacekeepers, might as well just show you before I move it on the tier list, is an exotic that enhances the mobility, stow speed, and instantly reloads SMGs, submachine guns. I know submachine guns aren't too high in the meta because auto rifles sort of step on their toes and crush them in some archetype instances. But don't sleep on Peacekeepers. The extra mobility is insane. You can break some ankles with this strafe. Controller auto track can't keep up with this, that friction and whatnot. It's way too fast. And if you combine it with a very powerful SMG like the Antiope, you will tear lobbies. It is absolutely competitive and can be better than a hand cannon in some cases. So let's move that on the list. I'm putting these even above the Antaeus Wards. All it takes is a better SMG to make these better than Antaeus. And I do think SMGs are due for a buff, so expect these to rise even higher. Now, the next one to talk about is the Armamentarium. This is a classic exotic, and to be fair, I probably would have placed this like all the way over here back in the day, but since the addition of the artifact, always boosting your grenade abilities each season, Armamentarium's just that good. This season, you can have one-hit kill stickies for going Oppressive Darkness. 2 of them, to be precise. That's all Armamentarium does, is it gives you an extra grenade. But if the grenade is boosted to 1 shot, you have 2 of them. So in some cases, Armamentarium is maybe even better than Inmost Light. I still like Inmost Light better, though. Because at the end of the day, it is giving me more of my barricade, so I can use the barricade to get some power positions and, you know, like get reses and power for free and whatnot. I'm talking a lot here, so I'm trying to make it through this. The next one, One-Eyed Mask. Let's put that right here. Does this one even need an introduction? This used to be the most powerful exotic in the entire game. Now it's definitely a shadow of its former self, but it's super strong. It highlights the enemy who dares to damage you. Yeah, imagine shooting someone in a first-person shooter. Track down and destroy your enemy for an overshield. So if you play normally and you're decent at the game, you get a free overshield. That's why this is ranked so highly. It's brainless. It is the freest way to get 7th columns. I seriously don't even know how people defended it in its strongest point. But I'll move on. The next one to talk about is Titan Ramparts. I'm going to put these even behind OEM because these are exploitable in the sense that, like, if someone's using these as a team, you can beat them. What Titan Ramparts do is they allow you to shoot through your barricade, but your barricade does not last as long and it has reduced health. So if people know it's coming, they're just going to nuke you before you can even get a shot off. They will just all shoot the barricade together and delete you. However, a lot of people don't know that. So Titan Rampart is one of the best anti-cheat, anti-sniper exotics in the game. And I should also mention that if using a sword hilt, some exotics can move to S tier or A tier from B tier, etc. Sword hilts change the game because you can see third person and therefore line up some good shots and ability tosses. With Titan Ramparts, what you can do is hilt to see them around the corner, be near a teammate, say you're throwing the barricade and have your teammate peek as soon as that barricade goes up and you get free damage on your opponent from safety. And that's the key word there, from safety. So if you play a cheater, these are the best exotics in the entire game. Ideally, you should be swapping between these, Doomfang, and Ursa Furiosa if you want to dunk on a cheater. But the best way to run these is, of course, having high resilience, which means the rest of your neutral stats need to be decent. I want to get high resilience and high intellect. I basically want to have 10 and 10. I think I can pull it off, but the Nightfall is not nice to me. So very unlikely I ever get that build, but if I do, that's what I'm running permanently. You will not see me use another build. There are a couple stragglers left. Oh, I forgot about Lion Rampart. I'm going to put these in B. What these do is they give you an additional jump, and they allow you to hip fire while using your jetpack. It sounds a little mundane, but with things like Hush, The Last Word, Tommy's Matchbook, most SMGs, this can do some work because you're able to be highly mobile while putting in damage. You're able to float a doorway to better lure with the shotgun. You're able to charge fusion rifles in the air. You're able to use the 1,000 Voices as an airstrike. It's super strong. What else? We have the... What a feedback fence. Don't use these. You may think you're going to get meleeed when you throw these on. You're not. What feedback fence is good at is exploiting people's habit to melee when you're in like a near barricade fight, but they just don't do enough. I used to think that these were going to rise to S tier because they have an interesting interaction with smoke grenades where if you're hit by a smoke grenade, they will repeatedly go off. But the radius is so small and you're stuck in a smoke that you're pretty much just going to die anyway. I was kind of hoping they'd be like Dune March or electricity, and as soon as you get hit by a smoke nade or something, you just erupt in electricity, and a Polygon episode from Pokemon or something. Next one is this one. What do they call it again? Ashen Wake? Ashen Wake. I didn't just put them in F tier, I promise. Improved fusion grenades. These also have the throw distance perk, fastball, for free. So you can use like impact induction or momentum transfer or something like that if you really want to. Fusion grenades now explode on impact and gain increased throw speed. Final blows with fusion grenades grant grenade energy. In PvP, this will give you your entire grenade back. So in 6v6s, this is one of the most powerful exotics in the game. In 3v3 though, when games slow down a little bit, it's very hard to get the start up with this exotic, and by the time you start it up, you've already won the round. So, in other words, I just realized I have 2 exotics at once. Now that would be terrifying. Could you imagine Ashen Wake and Inmost Light? Yeah, let's not go there. I'm not giving them any ideas. Here's where it goes. This is going right in front of Armamentarium. Just ever so slightly edges it out. And finally, we have Actium War Rig. Now, you might initially think that, oh, it's Season of the Auto Rifle. Auto Rifles are OP. I should get an exotic that reloads my auto rifle. It improves the usage of Suros and Sweet Business and maybe high impact reserve auto rifles, but past that, you're better off just reloading the auto. All autos have a pretty fast reload to begin with. You might trick somebody when they think you're out of ammo and push you, but why not just use any other exotic on the list? For that, I almost put them in F, but they are so good with Suros Regime that they deserve D. Just right above Feedback Fence. This is a fantastic PvE exotic, terrible PvP exotic. Sure, it's better than a legendary armor piece. It's a slight upgrade if you don't have good exotics, but I would just avoid it altogether. So here we go. That's my tier list. I went through melee enhancers, swappables, ability engines, neutral boosters. I can do the same for Warlock and Hunter. Let me know in the comment section what your tier list looks like, and if I should continue this. I do plan to do formal reviews on each of these, and maybe through reviewing them, maybe through future seasons, this tier list will change a lot. Hopefully this is somewhat useful to any sort of balancing changes at Bungie. Maybe. But this is my take on the Titan. I think the Titan is the hardest character to make competitive, but that doesn't mean it's not competitive. It just sort of has a startup cost. It can seriously be one of the best, if not the best, class in the game. And if, you held me at last word point, I would say that Top Tree Dawnblade is the best class in the game with the least amount of work in terms of your build. But Titan can match that. It just takes a lot of effort, a lot of grinding, and most of all, a lot of luck. And that's what's kind of burning me out on Destiny right now. I hate that I'm running hundreds of Nightfalls and not really having anything to show for it. It's not like I can take any of these hundreds, thousands of tokens and convert them into exactly what I want. Nope. Why would that be a thing? It's not like these 7 Ascendant Shards in my inventory and 10 in my Postmaster, I can't trade for exactly the exotic I want. A system like that would have me playing so much more Destiny, it's not even funny. Yet other people say, it would be too easy. Why? You wouldn't have anything to chase. Dog, are you kidding me? I would have so much to chase, because then I know it's guaranteed. I could design a build down to the stat and go farm for it. Even if it's a 100-hour grind, at least I know I'm getting it. All this RNG compounded on top of each other makes me want to do is not play the game. It's my 2 cents. On that end note tangent, let me know if that resonates with you. I will see you in the next video, and this will probably be a stream link for any time someone asks me, hey Cammy, what are you farming for? Welcome to the video. Don't forget about that subscribe button, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much.